So, hi guys, today I'm going to talk to you guys about IELTS Task 1 Academic, which is by far one of the most technical tasks in IELTS writing. Far more technical than IELTS Task 2 General and Academic. And of course, it's a very difficult task because we're dealing with graphs and charts. And as most of you know, and you've sent me some messages and you let me know about different kinds of models, there are a lot of different models on the internet on how to write IELTS Task 1. They're not all wrong and they're not all right, they're different. And it's so hard for us when we're trying to do an IELTS Task 1 Academic to try to follow one particular model, especially when there's so many different examples out there. So today I'm going to give you a simple method to deal with every IELTS Task 1 Academic, whether it's graphs and charts, bar graphs, whether it's the process or even the maps. Every IELTS Task 1 Academic can be dealt in this particular way. Okay, so we're going to look at a very simple way. So first of all, let's take a look at one of these IELTS Tasks 1. So we can see here are graphs and charts, and usually from my experience, most students get very stressed by this because we're not really used to these kinds of arts like graphs and charts in our daily lives. Even native language speakers have trouble with this particular task because it's so difficult and challenging for us to deal with very unfamiliar kind of graph and chart, and you're not really sure what's going to happen next. It's the surprise aspect that stresses us out. So I'm going to teach you this 4-step approach that really takes away from the stress. Step number 1, paraphrase. What are you going to paraphrase? Well, every IELTS Task 1 looks pretty much the same. It tells you to summarize information and select the right ideas. But this sentence right here is the sentence that you get to paraphrase in every IELTS Task 1. And so for the first thing you're going to do is you're going to forget about the graphs and charts. You're going to ignore them for a second and you're just going to go straight to that one sentence and paraphrase it. And what it does for you is it takes away the time you would normally put into thinking, deciding, meditating, wasting time in this very short IELTS Task 1. Only 20 minutes long. You can't really waste time thinking about it. So go to this first sentence and first step, paraphrase it. It's rather easy to paraphrase compared to other kinds of sentences, and it will save you time because immediately when you get your task to write, and immediately when you are asked to open up your booklets and begin to write, you can put your pencil, put it right to the paper, and you can paraphrase that sentence right away. Step number 2. Divide the information. Every IELTS Task 1 Academic is a little bit different. Sometimes you see 2 charts, 1 chart, 4 charts. So the organization of the body paragraphs is going to be a little bit different. However, think about dividing the information. Plan ahead before you even write. Think about the simplest way to do it. Most common mistakes candidates do when they're writing IELTS Task 1 is they find some complicated way of comparing the information. They get confused with the sentence structures. They get confused with the content, and that can cause a lot of problems and frustration for us. So step number 1, think of the simplest way to organize it. If there are three graphs or 3 charts, write 3 body paragraphs. If there are 2 charts, maybe just 2. You might combine common trends, but really think about how you're going to organize the information even before you write. Step number 3, describe the information. By far the most difficult aspect of this IELTS Task 1 Academic is actually describing all those trends, those increases and decreases and changes in proportion. And unfortunately, we don't have time to really work on building those sentences. However, what you need to do at this point is actually describe the information. Remember, you're not describing every bit, every piece of the trend. It's not important to describe every point. Summarize and write the essential information. Final step, step 4, the overview. Every overview will be a little bit different. But an overview is not the same thing as a conclusion. It's not just another paraphrase of a paraphrase. It's not just describing what the information is. The overview is a big idea. What is the big idea of this particular task? What is the relationship between the highs and the lows, in the highest proportions and the lowest proportions? Remember, for this task, you cannot state your opinion. You cannot write beyond what the actual task represents. However, this is obviously one of the most challenging aspects. I hope this video helped you out. A 4-step approach. You can write the structure for any IELTS Task 1 academic.